We all have had those moments in our lives when we felt like we were on top of the world and there was absolutely nothing that could stop us. It was in these moments that we felt like a true force of nature. But for most of us, these moments were very fleeting. They didn't last too long. But for Jimmy Butler, these moments never end because Jimmy is the biggest savage in the NBA. And to give you all a taste of Jimmy Butler's unstoppable rampage, here are 10 of his greatest and undeniably most savage moments. First off, I have the moment where Jimmy reveals his phone number to the public during a Timberwolves press conference. This all happened just 1 week after he was traded from the Chicago Bulls, but I think it's best if I let good old Jimmy give you guys the context for this one.
But with that being said, my phone's in my back pocket right now. If whoever has anything to say to me, feel free. 773-899-6071. So if you want to interview, there you have it. Please do.
So basically, he did this out of pure pity for the fans that had something to say about his trade to Chicago. What a legend. But what happened as a result of this was kind of funny because apparently a lot of these fans dialed the wrong number and ended up calling the wrong person who was later interviewed by SportsCenter. Imagine being so angry about something that you can't even dial the right number. But this next one was a little more serious. In fact, it was so serious that Jimmy looked like he was about to pass out. In the finals of the 2020 bubble playoffs, Jimmy did all that he could to carry the Heat to victory. He was able to score 40 points in Game 3 and 35 points in Game 5, but ultimately the Heat still lost to the LA Lakers. Jimmy was trying so hard not to lose that series that in Game 5 he had a moment where he was leaning over the stands completely out of breath, but he still managed to get back into the game and win. But this next one was so serious that Jimmy was about to knock out the two-time MVP Nikola Jokic. Prior to this, Markieff Morris shoved Jokic while he was making a pass. So Jokic, being the fearless brawler that he is, decided to fight back by body checking Morris to the floor. After witnessing this one-sided smackdown, Jimmy decided to take matters into his own hands and challenge Jokic to come out back. And this is how we got that iconic picture of the Miami Heat staring into the tunnel after the game to see if Jokic was really about that life. Unfortunately, nothing happened after this, so Jimmy was not able to do much else. But what if Jimmy could do more? Like maybe hitting a clutch shot to win the game for your team? In the end of this game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, Eric Spoelstra told everyone to get Jimmy Butler open and give him the ball. And because they all knew how clutch Jimmy Butler is, that is exactly what the Heat did. And of course, Jimmy effortlessly scored the bucket to thrust the Heat into the lead and win that game. Now what if I told you that a team actually chose another player over Jimmy Butler? You probably think that I'm lying. Well, unfortunately, I'm not. In the 2019 offseason, the Philadelphia 76ers chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. So, Jimmy being Jimmy, he eliminated Philly in the 2022 Eastern Conference semifinals, in which after eliminating them, he proceeded to shout,
"Tobias Harris over me?"
The reason why Philly chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler is because they had to choose between Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler in the 2019 offseason. They only needed to keep one guard to play Joel Embiid. But on top of this, the 76ers were running low on cash, so they decided to sell Jimmy Butler to the Heat and use those funds to later re-sign Tobias Harris for a 5-year, $180 million contract. I bet you that now the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid deeply regret giving Jimmy Butler away. But this wasn't the first time Jimmy's team made a mistake. Back when he played with the Timberwolves, it felt like the team was being soft and wasn't trying their best to win their games. So Jimmy made it his mission to destroy the Timberwolves from the inside. He challenged the Timberwolves starting lineup to a 5v5 game during practice. And to make things fair for the starters, Jimmy only had bench players on his team. And to no one's surprise, Jimmy's team won, defeating the likes of Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and the other so-called starters. However, this feat doesn't even compare to what he did during the first round of the 2023 playoffs. In Game 4 against the Bucks, Jimmy Butler scored a historic career high of 56 points. Not only was this his career high, but the this was also a franchise high for the most points scored by a Heat player in a playoff game. And to make this achievement even more exciting, when fans first saw this performance, they were starting to make legitimate comparisons between him and Michael Jordan. But the greatness doesn't stop there, because this same game is a double whammy. That's because at the end of this game, Jimmy Butler has his iconic moment where he says, "This is my sh," after he hit 2 clutch threes back to back. And because of these 2 buckets, the Heat won the game and went up 3-1 against the Bucks. But hold on, in the next game of the same round, Jimmy says to Drew Holiday, "I own you," while the Heat were down late in the 4th quarter. And you already know the Heat still won the game. Only Jimmy Butler has the guts to talk smack while his team is down and still be able to back it up. And this win eliminated the Bucks 4-1, allowing the Heat to avenge the 4-0 loss they suffered to the Bucks back in the first round of the 2021 playoffs. So yeah, I guess it was deer season for Hunter Jimmy. While Hunter Jimmy has many other well-known nicknames, one of his most prominent ones being Playoff Jimmy. And that is because he always shows up in the playoffs. In Game 2 of the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, Jimmy Butler was taunted by Grant Williams while the Heat were slowly coming back from being down by double digits in the 4th quarter. Unfortunately for Williams and the Celtics, this gesture fueled Jimmy to channel his inner Michael Jordan. Because since this happened, the Miami Heat destroyed the Boston Celtics 3 games in a row before the Celtics could get 1 game back. To put the gravity of this achievement into perspective, the Celtics were the 2nd seed in the East while the Heat were the 8th seed in the East. And not only did the Heat have a worse regular season, but coming into this round, ESPN analysts predicted that the Heat would only have a 3% chance of beating the Celtics and moving on to the finals. Well, I guess it's time for ESPN to learn to never doubt one of the most remarkable NBA players of our time, Jimmy Butler. That's all for these top 10 moments. I'll see you next time.